In the floor sitting, we're going to do exactly what it sounds like. We're going to sit on the floor. Now, this is one of the single best things you can do for mobility and mobilizations because you're just getting and using the ground to reinforce position. So there is no rhythm, there is no set of exercises. It's just time for you to explore, sink into the ground, use the ground as some pressure feedback, hug your leg, pull your legs up to your chest, you crisscross applesauce, cross your leg on top of, below. But the only rule you have to have here is that there needs to be 3 points of contact or one long bone. So 2 points of contact and one long bone. By long bone, I mean your shin, your forearm, your arm, your humerus, your femur. Some long bone needs to be on the ground, or you need to have 3 points of contact. So as you're sitting there, you're going to spend the allotted amount of time. You're going to accrue this position here and just explore. Get comfortable with your body sitting on the ground. The more you can do this, the more opportunity you're going to have just to work on your momentum. The ideal thing is that you'll start to incorporate this as a daily practice, whether you're reading a book or you're just checking email, whatever it is. Whenever you can drop to the floor and start to just feel different things shifting and moving, you're able to kind of explore, but you're using the body as a sort of self-myofascial release. And that's key because we don't need to always have some type of a specific ball and specific point. It's like the ground is going to give you a lot of feedback, and because it's flat and firm, you're going to get a lot of this opportunity to get that feedback. And so you can explore. If you're feeling good, you can start to do some single leg movement and try to challenge with some of your balance and coordination. If you're not feeling good, you can just sit there and breathe and just roll on the ground, lay on your back. We're just getting on the floor. We're using this as a time for feedback. And one other note is that this is sped up in 2x speed. So I've spent about 5 minutes here. It's going to be a time to be slow, to be intentional with your movement, just to breathe and just feel these things happen. It's not going to change on day one, but every single day you continue to show up, you'll get a little bit better, a little bit more mobile. Another option to use while you're sitting in this floor sitting time is to work on some of this glute me, glute min, self-massage, self-myofascial release. I think that's a great option to continue to spend time on the floor, working with your body, feeling the tissue, but especially if you're stiff, this can help open things up. Again, this is a short-term fix. It's not going to make long-term adjustments, but as you're getting time on the ground, it's just another thing to kind of pass the time and get you in different novel positions. Add in variety, add an exploration to the movement, and make sure you're breathing as you do this. So notice this is in 2x speed, so I'm not moving that fast in real life, but it's a great thing to get your body moving. For the downward dog walks, you're going to raise your hips high in the sky with the hands and feet at shoulder width, and you're going to take turns stretching one leg out. We're not trying to force anything here, just trying to ease into this position. You can rock back and forth, keep the quads flexed to straighten that leg out, but just take turns walking the dog, keep the hands actively engaged in the ground. For the puppy pose, you're going to let those arms go forward, drop the hands and shoulders and chest into extension. Then you're going to let the hips rise up. So you still get a 90-degree bend at the knees. You're going to allow as much of an arch in that low back as possible and just sink into this. Breathe, exhale, move around a little bit. Don't make this a super passive position, but use the breath to pull and engage more range of motion in those tissues. For the knee hug egg rolls, you're going to rock that spine to as much of a rounded, flexed position as possible, trying to make a smooth rolling surface. You're going to rock back and forth. So you want to think about tucking the chin, tucking the head, and get the back to round, and that way you can roll. You want to be able to roll all the way back from your shoulders, all the way up to your feet, without any type of thudding. If your back is stiff, you might feel like you get stuck and you're trying to go over a flat surface. We want to make sure this is round and smooth. As you do this more, you'll be able to get to that more flexed position. We'll just start with what you can do and exhale as you move. The Sphinx pose is a bit of a spinal extension. Now this can be sensitive for some people who haven't been able to move well, and I want you to think about, instead of just pressing your back into an extended position, I want you to think about lengthening through the hips. You can start in the elbows or you can press up in the arms, but I really want you to press those glutes, squeeze the glutes, and extend that hip so you're feeling a lengthening through the front of the anterior chain. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but ease into this with the breath. For the standing lateral pelvic tilt, you're going to balance with your feet at shoulder width, and you're going to sink left and right into the hips. Now this is going to look interesting if you're doing this, but watch in front of a mirror and try to get as much motion into those hips as you drop left and right. We're trying to restore some motion to the pelvic floor and the bottom of that spine. Then for the pelvic tilt, you're going to bring that hip into anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. We're trying to rock back and forth. The legs are going to stay straight on this one, and you're going to hold onto the rim of the pelvis and just shift the hips back and forth. Squeeze the glutes and try and see how much range of motion you can get as we do this. This is going to be a simple thing, but if we don't ever move those hips, we can't restore any circulation to the area. For the standing pelvic circles, we're trying to bring some circulation and articulation back to the pelvis. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a coordinated movement, but I want you to think about smooth, slow, and in many ways, sensual movements. You're trying to bring some motion back to your hips. This is how we get our dancing hips back. And a lot of this involves coordination at the muscles at the base of our spine and our pelvic floor and our femur to get rotation and articulation in a coordinated manner. So focus on this. For the Jefferson curls, we're going to work on getting that spinal flexion. So this is going to be something that most people feel really stiff. I know I feel stiff in the morning when I start this, so you're going to ease into it. That's the full range of motion. But for many people, you'll start just getting the upper back. Really think about the head and the neck. Start with that chin, tuck it, get a little bit of range of motion, keep the legs straight. Start to feel that back open up as you get a little bit more into it each rep. You're going to ease into it, breathe, sink it a little bit lower, a little bit lower, a little bit lower each time. And get to that bottom position and reach towards the ground. But you will feel discomfort at the back of the legs. Don't let the legs bend. Actively flex the quads into this position and pull yourself down. This will open up and change dramatically, and as you get through this, you'll start to feel much more open because your body is no longer fighting that stiff posterior chain.
All right, for the fascial maneuver series, we're going to work through a set of movements that is going to engage the tissue that wraps around all the muscle, the structure of your body. So what we're focusing on here is getting in different positions, breathing and moving with rotation so we can create a push and a pull sensation on the tissue that gets it to hydrate, so to speak, as you release hyaluronic acid within the layers of the fascia. This first hip opener, you're going to lay on your back, curl up, cross your legs over one another, grab the shins and externally rotate, so you twist and pull. Curl in. You could turn your head either way, whatever way you feel more sensation, and just breathe in and out through the nose, in and out through the mouth. 3 breaths in through the mouth, 3 breaths into the nose. Obviously, you can last longer if you'd like to, but the biggest thing to focus on with all of these is that the breath is essential. If we don't have the breath, we're not engaging the tissue and the push and pull within the body. So you can think of the breath as the push and pull that creates a stressor from inside. So you've got like a man on the inside, so to speak. Then we're going to move to the hip flexor opener. So you're going to do an offset split stance with one leg behind, the other leg in front. And you're going to take one hand and pull up. So you can grab in this lower abdomen and pull up. And you're going to feel some traction on the skin. Now, this is just getting a superficial layer of fascia, but you'd be amazed at how much more engagement this gets. You don't have to take the other hand overhead. That's another way you can explore. There's no right or wrong with this stuff. What you're just focusing on is engaging the muscle and just feeling as you squeeze the glute and extend the hip. Now, keep in mind that all of these maneuvers are sped up about at 1.5 times speed. So as you're doing this, it's going to take a little bit longer than I am. And there's no time limit. You can stay as long as you want. But the minimum is about 30 seconds each. And that's, going to be 3 breaths inhale, 3 breaths exhale through the mouth and through the nose. So 6 breaths total. 3 breaths in and out through the mouth, 3 breaths in and out through the nose. Next, we're going to do the hamstring pull. So you're going to grab the hands behind the calf, so right behind the knee, and pull up. So you notice I'm in an off stance position, one leg in front. This is going to create a little bit more ability to sit back and create some length in that posterior chain. You might notice from very severe and intense kind of tearing and stinging sensation. If you're very dehydrated and you haven't been moving your fascia and you haven't been moving your body, let's say you've been sitting a lot, then you're going to feel this is going to feel a little bit more of like a tearing sensation. Now, you're not going to be tearing anything, but it can feel intense if you're at an unhealthy spot. So especially with these, breathe in, take time to break as you need. But the thing we're focusing on is getting in the positions and using this as a time to explore and feel the body as it moves. Then we're going to build up to a low back opener. So you can take your hands at your pelvis, at your hips, and then twist those. So you're going to try and pull the skin of that lower back apart. So that's that thoracolumbar fascia. You're rotating the hand forward, so you're using your thumbs to pull the skin apart, and the hands are right at the pelvis. Then you can do any type of movement. You can split. You can rock back and forth, left foot, right foot, to lengthen to the posterior chain. You can rock the hips around. You can round and flex the back. You can arch the back. There is no right or wrong here as long as you're moving with the breath. Again, every single one of these is 6 breaths minimum. 3 in and out through the mouth, 3 in and out through the nose. But you can stay as long as you need. And I find that as I get to a spot, there might be a specific set of tissues on the right or the left side that I want to spend some time working on. So within that, what you want to focus on is that all of this is done in a way that you are internalizing and exploring your body. Last piece of this equation is the organ massage. Now, just in case you are thinking this is strange, it is strange, but the organs are tissue just like everything else. Your spleen, your large and small intestine, your stomach, your kidneys, they are all things that need circulation, and just like everything else, they're wrapped in fascia. And so just as we start to move the pelvic floor and the diaphragm, you're going to start to see some engagement here. But because we have an open abdomen, we have the ability to get in and do some pressure. So it's just like you get a massage in a muscle, you can also get in and get some things moving around in the abdomen. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you exactly what you're doing and pushing on because it's one big mess of things in there, and sometimes you can point to it, but you're going to have to be on the scope of this. What I am focusing on here is I want you to explore, press in, and if you find a spot that gives you any type of sensation, whether it's nausea, sharp pains, anything like that, just Play around, do some massage. You're not going to hurt yourself. Your fingers are not sharp enough. But you can get any of these places and press it in. And as you find a spot that gives you some sensation, you can push and pull, but just make sure you breathe the entire time. And I would start doing those standing, but some of them are easier to press in when you're laying, you're relaxing your abdomen and your core as you are on your back. So being able to lay down and press, you'll find a few spots as you kind of work around the organs. Try to find 4 or 5 spots and then breathe in and press as you rotate. And another option for this gut massage is to use a kid's ball or a soft, somewhat firm but yet still yielding ball that you can press in. You can do this for the deep hip flexors, deep core musculature, and the gut. Again, you don't need too much pressure. You can ease into it. Just make sure you breathe, move the tissues above and below, move the neck, the arm, the leg. This is a 2x speed, but you can spend a few minutes here. Just see what comes up and then spend time with anything that feels stiff.
Now, we're going to go for a walk. And now, most people go for a walk, they do it very mindlessly. They slam their heels to the ground, they walk, they march, they smack the ground, and then when they're walking, their eyes are shaking and they're getting a lot of force going up through the body, and then their back hurts. So I don't want that to be you. So when we walk today, I want you to think about getting as soft of a step as possible. You can be barefoot, is going to be ideal, or getting some minimalist shoes that can let you feel the ground. If you can walk on a trail or something off, flat, pristine, two-dimensional surfaces to let your body engage, that's going to be perfect as well. And I want you to think about feeling the ground moving through the surface. So feeling your hips move. It's kind of like a little bit of a sexy strut. You're going to walk. You're going to feel your hips move as you shift and engage this. And you're going to feel the spine rotate. Now, this is one of those things, most people when they walk, they try to get all the steps in. They're furious and they're stepping and their spine is rigid. I want you to feel that spine moving as you sway left and right, as you step, and feel those femurs rotate in that socket. This is going to be the big thing. As you walk, you should feel good. You should feel refreshed. Let the shoulders relax, let the body hang out. Use this as a time for exploration. This is not going to go out and get your cardio. You can do that. But focus on breathing through your nose, feeling the ground, walking softly, and just exploring and feeling and enjoying a beautiful day outside. Do it outside. Don't get on a treadmill. Come on. The world's too pretty for this. Go get it.